Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, let's talk about signs, how basically signs an avoidant is terrified of losing you, or how they act when they're terrified of losing you. It doesn't have to be that you broke up with them. That's not necessarily what it is. And I've made this video before and things similar, but a lot of you guys are new and some of you guys are asking, like, how do I know that my partner actually cares? How do I know that they're going to fight for the relationship? How do I know that I mean something to them? Even if we're friends, I feel like there's something romantic going on. How do I know that they don't want to lose me? And this is how you know. There are plenty of other ways, but these are some of the patterns I picked up as a therapist. And it's something I'm seeing a little bit more frequently. It's going to be a little bit more curated to relationships because most people who come to couples therapy are married or in a long-term relationship. But I've seen it happen in individual therapy that some of these patients admit that this is, what they do when they're terrified of losing a particular significant other. And the first one is a little bit more common with fearful avoidance, but it does happen with both. They try to make you laugh when you're mad at them or when you're cold or when they feel like they messed up. They should take accountability, but sometimes why fearful avoidance do this a little bit more often is because they're afraid that if they say, hey, I'm really scared to lose you, or I feel like you're mad at me, they feel like if they tell you that, you're going to use that against them because fearful avoidants have a plethora of trauma. And that could have happened in their past when they were young, when they were a child. And so they believe that that's what's going to happen. And I think it's important to empathize, care and really respect where they're coming from because avoidants have a lot of trauma too. Someone who's anxious, preoccupied, I know a lot of you guys are, you guys do have trauma, but so does avoidance. And so your version is not right and their version is not right. It's just two people coming from different backgrounds. And with a fearful avoidant, it doesn't mean they're trying to ignore the issues that you guys are having or a dismissive avoidant. They were told that this is not safe. And so their safe version is trying to make you laugh, to make you smile. And I'm not saying that it means they're never going to apologize for what they've done or whatever is going on in your relationship, but it is a sign that they care in their own version. And it is probably the same way you feel. It's expressed differently. The next one is that an avoidant is, it's usually in frustration. They kind of say that they're trying. Usually it's like they're angry at you. Like they feel like you're not angry, but frustrated. They feel like you're not giving them credit. So they might say like, I'm trying. I'm really, really trying. I wish you understood how much I'm trying. And it doesn't mean they're not going to continue to try. All that it means is they want gratitude. And why does this mean they're terrified of losing you? Because they're trying to say, I'm trying because I feel like if you didn't know I was trying, you would dump me. So I need you to understand I'm trying so that you don't leave me. That is where it's coming from. Both avoidance, dismissive, and fearful do this, both genders. It's just something that all of them do. Just telling you I'm trying, usually frustration, or in an argument. It can happen outside of an argument, but I've seen it more commonly in an argument. It could be because a lot of couples fight in couple therapy, like a lot. So that could be why. Like I witness them arguing. Sometimes I get emails the night of, hey, do you have a slot the next day? And if I do, if I had a cancellation, I'll give it to them. And I'm like fresh in the argument. Like they're still mad, really mad. So they could be really biased because of that, but I've seen it most commonly there. The next one is when they notice you're quiet, you're upset. Like you're quiet or upset or you're like a little disengaged because you're processing probably something that's bothering you. They might say something along the lines of, do you want to discuss something? That one's more common with dismissive avoidance. Are you okay? That's more common with, actually I see with both. And then are you mad at me? That's more common with fearful avoidance. So what are they trying to get at? There's a part of them that maybe knows you're mad, or they don't know you're mad, but they don't want you to be detached from them. And so they want to reconcile and readjust whatever's bothering you, making you sad, so that they can make you happy. And that's why a lot of times, especially with dismissive avoidance, when they say, do you want to discuss something? Is there something you want to discuss? They are saying, okay, I don't really like arguments. I don't like talking about things, but I really don't like when you're sad or you're hurt. So I'm going to take something that really bothers me, discussing things probably that they did wrong. They have a failure complex, right? They're still going to move that fear because their fear of losing you is more powerful than their fear of being wrong or criticized. And so that is why this one's really important. When you're quiet or upset, there's a part of them that feels if they let that fester, one day you're just going to dump them. And they don't want that. So they're going to say, do you want to discuss something? Because they'd rather take the risk of being criticized and also hopefully fixing whatever's bothering you so that you don't dump them. The next one is that they do get noticeably more emotional or romantic after a difficult fight. I'm going to give an example. Let's just say you guys had a really big fight on vacation and you guys have a dinner date planned. And that date, you guys are trying to be as happy as possible because you already, have it planned. And so you guys get dressed up, whatever it is. And they're emotional, romantic, but in like a way where they don't want to lose you. And dismissive avoidants do this a little bit more common with fearful avoidants. And this has been reported in session a lot. It could even be as much as like, let's say you have a male dismissive avoidant and his wife is, it doesn't matter what she is, but let's just say she's anxious, preoccupied, whatever. And she tells me in session, this is an example, by the way, that they had a really big fight on, their Valentine's Day trip and they had dinner planned. So they went to the dinner, and during that time, she noticed that he was more romantic and that there was a part of him that held her hand, and she could see that he was a little teary-eyed. And then he said, I'm glad that we got to do this. And she brings up in session, I saw that he was emotional and I feel, frustrated that he didn't articulate why he was emotional. He tried to fight his tears. And he might say, sometimes I just get emotional about these things and I don't know why, and I'm ashamed of it. But that is a dynamic that does happen. So why does it happen? Avoidance really, a lot of them are very emotional when it comes to love and who they care about. And when they have a fight and they see that you guys are reconciled and it's like a safe place again, there's a part of them that feels like really hurt, that it feels like there's like a wall between you guys, that you can't enjoy this date as much as they wanted because you guys had a fight. And usually if that fight is really intense, like you guys could have lost each other, that's when the emotion gets really intense, because they're like, I was a hair away from losing you. That's like where the emotion comes from. I could have lost you, but here I am still on this date, and I never want to feel that feeling again. I'd rather feel happy with you, and I feel sad that we can't have that happiness right now. And that's where it comes from. The next one is they clarify what you mean in case that it's something that they did wrong or that you could potentially leave them. So for example, let's just say you said, I feel really frustrated that you take so long to answer text messages. They might say, well, what do you mean by that? And you guys might think that means that they don't know what you're talking about or they don't care. It's usually not that. They are genuinely saying, well, what do you mean by that? I try to answer my text messages. What do you mean? And it's not that they're brushing you off. They're trying to clarify because they're trying to say, I want to actually know what you're talking about, as clear as day, instruction format, because I don't want to do it again, because I don't want to risk the fact that it'll bottle up and then you'll leave me. And the last one is they start doing things that you have been asking them to do. Let's say you've been nagging them, which is, I know nagging can be annoying, but most people do it a little bit, especially in long-term relationships. I'm not going to hold that against you, okay? Let's just say you've been telling them, answer the phone or answer the text messages when you're coming home so I know when to make dinner. Or something even as simple as, I want you to schedule dates ahead of time. Let's say you guys are even in a short-term relationship or just started dating. I want to know when we're going to go on a date instead of you just texting me, hey, are you available the day of? Because I like to plan things. That makes sense. And they started doing that because they're afraid to lose you to that risk, right? The fact that that might bother you. So let's go ahead and summarize and then we'll wrap it up. They try and make you laugh to break the ice. They tell you they're trying. When they notice that you're upset or distant with them, they want to try and figure out what's bothering you. They might ask you to discuss something, etc. They become noticeably more emotional and romantic after a difficult fight. They clarify what you mean by certain things so that they can adjust themselves. And then the last one, they start making actual changes. I hope this video was helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.